you're dealing with a narcissist. This narcissist has been a nightmare for you, driving you crazy, making your life miserable, making you feel paralyzed, powerless, used, abused. I get it. I've been there. I've dealt with not one, but 2 covert narcissists in my life. People close enough to me to drive me insane, make me crazy, gaslight me, take advantage of me, and step all over me. And yes, I'm a lawyer. Yes, I'm somebody who has, achieved a lot in my life, but that didn't mean that I couldn't be a target and a victim. It didn't mean that I can't become a survivor and thriver, which is what I've become. And now, since I've represented thousands of people who've dealt with narcissists in their divorces, I've also had to deal with them as opposing counsel or even deal with them as clients sometimes. And in my personal life, I've devoted my life to helping you with this nightmare, because they are a nightmare. No doubt about it. They make your life a living hell. And so how can you turn those tables and actually make their lives a living hell? Make them crazy? Is it even possible? It absolutely is. This is a strategy. I have a whole course on how to negotiate with a narcissist. It's called Slay Your Negotiation with a Narcissist. And SLAY actually stands for strategy, leverage, anticipate what the narcissist is going to do, and focus on you. So I would say the things that you want to do to make a narcissist miserable and become their worst nightmare is within the context of a strategy and within the context of developing leverage, because leverage is the thing that you're ultimately going to be using to squeeze and motivate that narcissist into doing what you want them to do and coming to reasonable conclusions so that you can actually resolve your issues with them. So yes, you can become a narcissist's worst nightmare, but I highly recommend you use it as part of a strategy and then ultimately get out of the relationship if you can. What's the number one thing that you can start with? You got to hit them where it hurts. And where is that for a narcissist? It's all about their supply source. So for a narcissist, they live on supply. Supply is their oxygen, it's their food, it's their lifeblood. Supply is anything that feeds their ego. So yes, they can get supply from the normal things that feed people's egos, like having a prestigious job, having lots of money, having the right car, the right house, the right wife, the right husband, living in the right neighborhood, and on and on and on. Okay, so yes, all of those things can give a narcissist supply. But what most people don't realize is that narcissists also get supply from jerking people around, from devaluing them, from treating them poorly, from cutting them down, from acting like they're better. All of those things also is a form of supply for the narcissist. So the trick in hurting them and becoming their worst nightmare is figuring out what source of supply you can interrupt, or you can threaten to interrupt, or you can threaten to take away. And so what is that for a narcissist? Most of the time for a narcissist, it's going to be all wrapped up in how they look to the community, how they look to the world, how they look to people they respect. Maybe it's a judge, maybe it's their lawyer, maybe it's other people in their world, like their boss or their clients or friends or people in the neighborhood or people on the same board that they are, or whatever it is. But they really want to make sure that they look good. Interrupting or threatening to interrupt, even better is to threaten to take it away, because that's where that leverage point is. That's where you're kind of riding that line of, the leverage. Because once it's already gone, then it's gone. So it's even better for them if you can threaten that supply source. Number 2 is demonstrate their lack of control over something, because Obviously, narcissists want to have control over everything. So if you let them know that you're no longer controlling them, you're no longer controlling another person, you're no longer controlling a situation, then that will drive them absolutely insane. That's when you'll see the love bombing start back up again, the hoovering back in. As a divorce attorney, when somebody hires me who is married to a narcissist, that's when you'll start to see the narcissist go, oh, that lawyer is only out for money, that lawyer's not very good, that lawyer's not the one for you, whatever, because they're going to try to figure out how to get that person away from the person who is now potentially has control over them instead of the narcissist having control over that person. So, figuring out what they really want to have control over, and then letting them realize, oh, you don't have control over this particular thing anymore. So that's another really good way of becoming a nightmare to a narcissist. And if you are so ready to turn the tables on that narcissist in the way that they've done to you, give me a turn the tables in the comments. Number 3 is one of my favorites, which is live a happy and successful life without them. That'll drive them absolutely insane. How are they living without me? How are they doing this? So you just move on, and the best way to do it is just completely erase them from your life, from your brain, like as if you went into the hard drive and just of your life and just took that whole section out and move on. You don't even think about them. You take them off your social media. You take them off of your email list, block them from your phone. That's what I had to do with the narcissist in my life so that I could just move on. And guess what? Live your happy and successful life, but live it without even thinking about, geez, I'm going to be making that narcissist crazy by living this happy and successful life, because then you still are like giving them energy, and you don't want to continue to attract that person into your life. So the best way is just to actually move on, and that will drive them crazy, by the way. So you will become a nightmare because you escaped. So they'll have to move on to some other form of supply, and good riddance. If you are able to cut off their source of supply, show them they can't control you anymore, and live a happy and successful life without them, that's the trifecta. Now you've totally become the narcissist's worst nightmare, and the biggest bonus is you get to move on and you get to have your own life back. Even better than being the narcissist's worst nightmare is you having your life back. And I'm going to reveal today something truly powerful, what I call the narcissist's worst nightmare, that one question that can completely turn the court against them. Yes, there is one single question that when asked at just the right moment, it can expose the narcissist for who they truly are, leaving them to scramble, leaving them disoriented. This strategy, when used correctly, can be a game changer in court, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use it. So let's dive in. You have to understand the power of how to get there in the first place. So let's figure out how to do that, and understanding how that right question can have such a devastating impact on a narcissist in court. Narcissists are masters of manipulation, and they thrive on controlling the narrative, right? And they want to have their image as everything, and they want to control the narrative, and they want themselves to look like the perfect ones. They're the ones who are either the victim, they have the best reputation, and you're the one who's the liar, you're the one who's the problem, or whatever it is. They're controlling it all. But when you have your documentation, everything lined up, and you've got your summaries, the way that you've laid it out, the questioning, the way that you've laid it out, all of your facts, everything laid out, and you've done your due diligence, and you've spun it properly, it forces them into a corner. And this is where a carefully constructed facade starts to crumble. Now you start to see all these contradictions. And if you've done depositions, you see contradictions. You've done your direct testimony, they've done their direct testimony, you've done cross-examinations, you've done okay, now all of the evidence is starting to come in. This starts to not only put them on the defensive, it starts to expose their lack of integrity to the court, because now things are going to start to come out. So this is when you can start to think about asking this question. So what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to tell you the question, and then I'm going to tell you how to use the question effectively, and I'm going to tell you how to prepare your evidence to get you there, and I'm going to tell you what to expect from the narcissist as far as how they're going to react. So once I tell you the question, stay on the video because I'm going to give you more on what to do around it. Okay. What's the one question? The one question is, can you explain why your version of the events differs from all of the documented evidence that's been offered here? The question is simple, but it's incredibly effective. Narcissists often rely on their charisma and confidence to sell their lies. But when you directly confront them with contradictions between their words, their charisma, and all of the stuff that they use, and evidence, hard evidence that's been presented, that's been entered into evidence as evidenced by the court, they're forced into a position where they have to reconcile the two. Now, this is something that they're not usually prepared to do. They have to maintain their illusion of perfection, and it's clashing with the reality of evidence, and their cognitive dissonance leads them to a meltdown in the court. Now, before we go any further, I want to remind you to download my free Crush My Negotiation Prep Playbook to get started at winmynegotiation.com, filled with strategies and tools to help you get started, to prepare for any negotiation, especially when you're dealing with a narcissist. If you're looking for more support, make sure you join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. It's a whole community of people there ready to support you on your journey. So how do you use this question effectively? You want to deliver this question for maximum impact. So timing is everything. You want to wait until the narcissist is confident. You want to wait until they've delivered all of their convincing lies. You want to wait until all of their evidence is in, all of the cross-examinations as much as possible. And then with calm, composure, you present your evidence, you ask the question. The goal is to catch them off guard on cross-examination so they don't have time to prepare a lie or to spin the situation. When done correctly, this question can lead to visible signs of distress. They're fuming, they're fumbling, they're contradicting themselves, they lash out. All these reactions are exactly what you want to show the court. You want the judge to see, there you go, there you have it. So how do you make this work? What do you have to do? Your evidence has to be rock solid. Gather your documents, gather your emails, gather your text messages, anything that directly contradicts what the narcissist version of events is, and summarize it where you can. Even put together percentages where you can. They were late 98% of the time. They didn't pay 54% of the time. Organize this all in a way that is easy to present, and then where you can reference it, where you have supporting documentation, makes it nice and quick. And if you can present it in terms of the statute, that's even better. That bolsters your argument even more. with undeniable proof. Remember, the stronger your evidence, the better the leverage, the more that narcissistic supply just is gone. The more devastating this question becomes, and the more impact it's going to have, the more it unravels, the more your leverage gets stronger. So, what can you expect? Be prepared for that narcissist to react. They might try to deflect, they change the subject, they even attack you personally. Remember, they're like toddlers, like 2-year-olds having a tantrum on the floor. They're going to be the worst right before they're ready to give up. So you've got to put your invisible shield down around you. You've got to start looking at them like they're having a tantrum. Oh, well, there they go, having that tantrum. Stay calm, stay composed. Don't let their reaction throw you off. Their outburst is exactly what you want the court to see. It's a clear demonstration of their true nature. The key is to remain unshaken and that you are the one in control and that the narcissist behavior is out of line. That's what you have to do in order to get them to go crazy. That's the one question that can be the narcissist's worst nightmare in court and can turn the court against them. Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life, then they turned out to be your worst nightmare, and then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell? Well, I developed something called the SLAY method of negotiating with narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I will show you how. Let's dive in to how to break free from that narcissist. So the thing about narcissists is that you have to understand that they are, even though they act heinous and horrible, and they're trying very hard to, what it seems like, make your life as miserable as possible, they are desperate for your approval. They want you to see them as in control, as all powerful, as the person who is, you're in their grip, right? How do you break free from that? The first thing that sends them spiraling is when you stop seeking that approval. When you just start seeing them as like a toddler having a tantrum on the floor, when you're just like, I don't know, I don't think so. Because they thrive on controlling you and controlling how you see yourself. They manipulate you into seeking their validation, their approval all the time. The converse of that is it makes you feel less worthy. It makes you feel less successful. Let me tell you though, I always say narcissists are way more afraid of you than you are of them. You're the one that has the value. So as soon as you stop seeking their approval, you become their worst nightmare. So let's say you're in a relationship with a narcissist and they always give you backhanded compliments like, oh, I guess you did it okay this time, instead of feeling crushed or feeling like you need to work harder for their approval. You can just simply be like, I don't need your validation, but thank you. I know that I did a good job, but thank you anyway. Then you stop letting their opinion define you and it shakes them to their core, because they know that they're losing that grip over you. Comment below if you have ever experienced a narcissist trying to control you with approval or disapproval. How did you respond? It's time for you to break free. So I want you to put that in the comments below. Break free. Is it so time to break free? Let's get a conversation going so we can support each other right here in this powerful, powerful community. So the second thing that you can do to become a narcissist's worst nightmare is set those steel boundaries, those super steel boundaries. I always say, put that invisible shield down around you. And you are just now saying, you know what? I'm going to start seeing you for who you are, and I'm no longer going to be part of your games or you're part of your manipulations. And so you're not just setting these boundaries, you also need to enforce them. Narcissists hate boundaries because it signals that you are no longer allowing that supply source to come through, right? You are no longer available for manipulation or for them to overstep anymore. So if a boss, a narcissistic boss, continues to text you after hours expecting you to be available and respond right away instead of complying, you can just, or even responding back. I mean, you just respond back and say, I'm happy to address work-related issues during business hours. I will respond when I'm back in the office. And by sticking to this boundary, you're making it clear they no longer have agency over you, that they no longer have power over you. They no longer have the power to invade your personal space or your personal time. And this is when the narcissist realizes that you're no longer playing their game. Yes, they might lash out. Yes, they might act like a baby. Yes, they're going to probably have a tantrum, but that's okay. That's their problem. It's not your problem. All right. You need to stay firm. Of course, don't do anything that's going to jeopardize your safety. If safety is an issue, that's a whole different thing. When you are dealing with a narcissist, let them have their tantrum. Their triggers are their responsibility. Your triggers are your responsibility. If you need free phrases for disarming narcissists, go to disarmthenarc.com. Get my free phrases for disarming narcissists. Make sure you get those right away so you can start using them. And if you need additional support, join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Then you can start to have support from all sorts of people who really do understand it. You really do see you and really do feel what you are feeling. It's so hard when other people just really don't understand the language of what they've been dealing with. So the next thing is that our indifference is the narcissist's kryptonite. I mean, this could be one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal because they don't want to be ignored. They don't want to be just ordinary. They don't want to be somebody who's you're not jumping right to, whether they're getting anger out of you, frustration, whatever it is that they can get any kind of rise out of you, they'll take it. They'll take it. But if you refuse to react and you just respond with indifference, it sends them into a tailspin because they're not getting their usual high from it. They're not getting that hit of emotion. It's almost like a hit of dopamine for them when they can get you going. So if they're throwing insults, if they're giving you the silent treatment, instead of you getting upset or reacting, just respond with calm indifference. Say, okay, that's it. Just don't engage with them emotionally. This reaction drives them crazy because they can't figure out how to provoke you, which means they're losing control. This is kind of like that gray rock mentality. All right. This is one of the things that they hate the most. If you guys have ever done this, I'm just curious to know how it worked out for you. I'm sure it was probably no fun because they just can't handle it, but that's okay. That's their problem. And they will eventually go and slither off and find their supply source somewhere else. You don't continue to be their supply source. Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life. Then they turned out to be your worst nightmare. And then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell. Well, I developed something called the Slay Method of Negotiating with Narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized, high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I will show you how. Focus on your own growth and success. When you do that, that also becomes their worst nightmare because they certainly don't want you to become developed more personally. They want to keep you small. They want to keep you dependent on them. They want to keep you under their thumb, their purview of control. So when you start thriving on your own, whether it's in your career, in your relationships, your business, your personal life, it completely rattles them. It's very threatening to them. It's very threatening to them. You might not want them anymore. Being abandoned is their worst nightmare. So if you've been in that toxic relationship, you've have that toxic boss, whatever it is, just know that they're downplaying your dreams, and you cannot personalize that. They do that because they feel threatened. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. If you get that promotion, you improve your health, you lose weight, whatever it is, they don't like it. They try to sabotage you. They try to belittle your success. The fact that you may be moving on just simply terrifies them. Your success is your best revenge. You don't need to argue anything with them. You don't need to prove anything to them. And if they're not happy for you, if a person is not happy for you in your success and your personal development, then that is not the right person for you. Stop trying to make not your people, whether it's a friend, a family member, a spouse, whoever it is, it may not be the right person for you. Refusing to engage in their drama is another thing that drives them absolutely crazy. And when you do this, it does become one of their worst nightmares, because they create chaos and conflict. That's what they do wherever they go. And why do they do that? Because it makes them look like they're all in control and everybody else is the crazy one. But if you stay calm, if you stay disengaged and you focus on solutions, it makes them powerless. It renders them powerless. So if you're in a negotiation with a narcissist, they're throwing out those insults, they're trying to hurl personal attacks at you, which I've seen them do. Instead of getting angry, instead of clapping back at them, you can calmly redirect the conversation and say, I'm here to discuss the terms. I'm here to discuss a resolution that is beneficial for both of us, but I'm not going to get into personal issues. I'm not going to be attacked personally. And this takes away their control, because you're not going to get pulled into that toxic energy. It's like if somebody's pushing, and you're not pushing back, there's nothing there to push back at. Definitely check that out. Or check out doing one of those things. I would love to know which one of these tactics you are going to start with first. Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, make sure that you share it. Make sure that you give it a thumbs up, because you want to make sure that other people who need access to this information is going to get access to this information. And if you need additional support, join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, because that will help you tremendously. There's so many people in there supporting each other. And if you need therapy, I have a sponsor on this channel. It's BetterHelp. And you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung to get the therapy and help that you need. We receive commissions. It doesn't cost you any extra. We just want you to have access to resources that you can trust. There you have it. Those are the things that, when you do them, become the narcissist's worst nightmare, from breaking free of their approval, to setting boundaries, to staying indifferent, focusing on your own growth, refusing to engage in their drama. These are just a few things that can help you take your power back and take that power away from them, which of course is their worst nightmare. So if this video resonated with you, thumbs up, share it, and also make sure that you subscribe, hit that bell, because you don't want to miss out on any strategies in dealing with narcissists, outsmarting narcissists in negotiation. So today I'm going to explore the even darker side of narcissism. Like, narcissism isn't dark enough already, but the darker underbelly, those really seriously ugly side of narcissism, the malignant narcissist. That's the scariest form of narcissist. And we're going to dive in today in finding out what a malignant narcissist looks like and how to protect yourself. A malignant narcissist isn't just a narcissist. A regular narcissist has a very fragile sense of self. They have no sense of internal value. They try to grab all of their feeling of value from the external. They might devalue, debase others. They might beef up their own accomplishments. A malignant narcissist isn't just like your regular narcissist. A regular narcissist has no inner sense of value. They have no inner sense of self. They're very fragile. They have very fragile egos, and they're entirely driven by everything external. So they need an endless amount of supply. And supply can be anything in the form of compliments, money, tangibles, big job, big car, the right friends, living in the right neighborhood, anything that makes them look good on the outside. But supply can also be in the form of the, abusive behavior, which is devaluing people, debasing people, judging people, putting people down, all that sort of thing. And all narcissists have very little sense of inner self, or none. And I've often said in my other videos that they're like the chocolate hollow Easter bunny. They might kind of look good on the outside, but there's absolutely nothing inside. And that's what's going on with a narcissist. So all narcissists have that. So, whether you're a grandiose narcissist or a covert narcissist, you're going to have these traits. And if you want to know more about covert narcissists, then you're going to want to check out my video on the covert passive aggressive narcissist. How a malignant narcissist differs, however, is that this is where antisocial, dangerous behavior mixes with your regular garden variety narcissist. So you've got your fragile ego, and you've got your little, sense of no sense of internal value, and you've got this person who's, very much trying to make themselves look as good as possible, but it's also overlaid with an antisocial personality, a person who is extremely suspicious, who is potentially aggressive and potentially dangerous. This is the person that will stop at nothing to destroy, like seriously destroy families, destroy careers, destroy homes, destroy, work environments, and potentially even countries or nations, depending on, what kind of position of power they're in. But they literally have that need for, it's such a need for control, and such a deep-seated rage and hatred inside of themselves, that they're not just trying to fill themselves with endless amounts of narcissistic supply, which is what most narcissists do. They're also, they have this antisocial personality disorder overlay, and so they literally have the power to destroy people. So what you'll see with a malignant narcissist is they get themselves into a position of power, whether it's within the family dynamic or within a work environment or a company environment or anything like that. And then everybody around them is constantly walking on eggshells to not upset this person. And so, they have the ability to be triggered so easily. You've heard the term hair trigger. These people have a very, very, very sensitive hair trigger, and any little thing can trigger them to blow up, go crazy, and completely try to obliterate somebody for the smallest little infraction. They can just go nuts on someone because they didn't staple something the right way, or they didn't, hang the towel the way they were supposed to. They'll absolutely lose it. These people can come across as impulsive, destructive, aggressive, unstable, and what really sets them off more than anything is any slightest little thing that looks to them to be, a besmirch to them in any way. So, for example, if you gave an opinion that differed from theirs, then, you are going to pay the price for that. You're going to have to look bad. And they think that they are like demonstrating confidence and making sure that everybody knows who's the powerful one by basically obliterating somebody for like the smallest little infraction. So this is a person that when other people are around them, people feel anxious. They feel intimidated by this person. They're extremely fearful of this person, extremely fearful of what they're going to do. And so when you combine this feeling of fear and intimidation, and then they have absolutely no empathy because
no narcissists have empathy for others. That's what makes them narcissists. And their suspiciousness and their aggression will cause a lot of destruction to people and can cause a lot of pain to people. If you think that you might be dealing with a malignant narcissist, give me a yes in the comments. So how a person might describe a malignant narcissist if they don't know that they're a malignant narcissist, they might say that they're jealous. They might say that they're petty. They might say that they're thin-skinned. They might say that they're punitive. They might say that they're angry, or that they're shallow, or that they have, they can be impulsive, that they have a tendency to lash out very quickly over very small things. They also can tend to be very cunning, very sly, very good at coming up with ways to hurt people in very sneaky ways. A malignant narcissist also tends to see the world in a very black and white way. So they're either smart or they're dumb. They're either rich or they're poor. They're either in or they're out. They're a loser or they're a winner. They just see things in very, very black and white ways. They also hold feelings of grandiose superiority. So they think that they can say things that completely aren't true at all, have no basis in fact whatsoever, and believe that the world around them will believe everything that they have to say, and nobody will question it, that it's true because they said that it's true. According to Campbell's Psychiatric Dictionary, malignant narcissism combines the characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, antisocial personality disorder, or APD, aggression and sadism, either toward others, self, or both, and paranoia. So if you think that you are dealing with a malignant narcissist, then I highly suggest that you figure out a way to get out of this relationship. This is the person who might have a tendency to engage in things like violence, stalking, threats of violence. They really will stop at nothing to destroy you. There's certain types of narcissists that are pretty heinous as well, but they're not going to go after you to the point of destroying you because they don't want themselves to also look bad. This is the type of narcissist that they'll just stop at nothing because they think that they'll be able to get away with it. They live in such a distorted world that they think that they'll be able to get away with it. So you really need to figure out a plan to get away from this person. If you're in a marriage with this person, start figuring out what you need to do to get out of the relationship with this person. And if you're not thinking of divorcing the narcissist, then you need to figure out a way that you can create some serious boundaries so that this person cannot continue to hurt you. And part of creating boundaries is going to be having ways that they can only communicate with you, in one way in, one way out, something like that. Or shutting off communication with them altogether would be the ideal way to go. But you definitely need to start creating a plan for how you're going to get out of this relationship with this person, because these people cannot be rehabilitated. They will not get better. Don't make excuses for them. That's another way that you can start protecting yourself, is stop making excuses for them. Just understand that they're very sick individuals. They're mentally ill, and you can't help them. You can't help them, so you need to figure out a plan to get out of this relationship with this person.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real. Therapy can feel like a really big investment, but your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you can save up to 50% per session on average. You pay a flat weekly fee, which means more peace of mind for less. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. BetterHelp gives you that, all from the comfort from your home. And with over 30,000 therapists to choose from and 5 million people served globally, this is the world's largest online therapy platform, and you can switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate. Let's get real for a minute. This topic is one that so many of you have asked me to dive into, whether it's in my YouTube comments, my DMs, my emails. I hear you asking, how can I stay true to myself when dealing with somebody who's constantly trying to manipulate me or tear me down? But here's the thing. So many people think, oh, you know what? They are so powerful. There's no way I'm a match for them. They are way more afraid of you. I always say they're like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, behind the little man behind the curtain who's actually afraid and feeble. And you are actually the powerful one. You're like the Linda the Good Witch over there who's like, you know what? Go away. You have no power here when the Wicked Witch comes around. So this topic is really close to my heart because I've seen firsthand and through the countless stories that you guys have shared with me, how challenging it is to face narcissists or narcissistic people or tactics or strategies, all while holding on to you and the true version of yourself. But here's the good news. You can do it. And I'm here to show you how. Before we dive in, I want to just make sure that each one of you has a free gift from me, and that's my free Disarm the Narc phrases, and you can get that at disarmthenarc.com. All right, so why do narcissists fear authenticity? Well, first, let's break down what authenticity actually is. Authentic is showing up as your true self. It's owning your truth, setting boundaries, being unapologetic about yourself, not being moved if somebody wants you to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. It's powerful, it's magnetic, and it's the exact opposite of what a narcissist wants you to be. They thrive on control and manipulation. They construct these elaborate false realities where they are the center of attention and you are just really a player to be manipulated as part of their own reality. You don't even exist as a human being outside of their reality. So when someone else comes along who's genuinely authentic, it exposes their facade. It's almost like a distinguishing characteristic, and it threatens their ability to dominate the narrative. And let me tell you, they cannot handle it. So I'll share a quick story from one of my clients. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah's ex-husband was a textbook narcissist. He was always trying to twist her words or make her feel small. One day, during a particularly heated argument, he said, "You are so selfish for wanting to pursue your own goals. What about the kids?" And instead of crumbling underneath his manipulation, Sarah calmly stated, "I love my kids deeply, and I can take care of myself and take care of the kids and also be a better person, which will make me a better mom for them." So you see how powerful that response is? She didn't buy into his guilt trip. She didn't like start defending. She stayed true to her authenticity, and it completely disarmed him because he really didn't have a response to that. And that's what authenticity does. It shifts the power dynamic. And it's not just about stopping the manipulation in the moment. Authenticity frees you. When you live authentically, you stop seeking their approval. You stop needing their validation. And that, my friends, my loves, is when you truly start to reclaim your power. Narcissists have a confession to make, and that is that they are way more afraid of you than you are of them, especially in court cases, mediation cases, or any kind of cases where you have to negotiate with them. But you know what? I have a confession to make too. I'm sick and tired of these people bullying you and making you feel exhausted and paying way too much in attorney's fees and dragging you through the mud. My name is Rebecca Zung, and I'm an attorney. I've been recognized by U.S. News as one of the best lawyers in America. And in fact, I was so sick and tired of these people bullying you that I started studying narcissism so that I could beat them in the courtroom. And now I'm here to make the case so that you can win too. I developed a 4-part proven blueprint that has helped tens of thousands of people take back their freedom, win, and get back their power. And now I'm sharing it with you in a special live event, Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-part proven plan to take back your power. 4 simple steps, 1 free live event, 1 free hour of your life. That's what stands between you being in hell and you being free. Join me, click the link for Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-step proven plan to take back your power. Just click the link and let's go. So, how do you use authenticity to diffuse narcissistic tactics? That's the key, right? Because that's, what you want to do. You want to be the one that they're afraid of. Well, not even really, because really the way you want it to be is just that they live their lives and you live your life, and you come from a place of love and abundance and passion and joy. So let's talk about strategy. How can you use authenticity as a shield and also a sword when dealing with narcissists? Because let me tell you, narcissists aren't going away. It's not like I could ever give you some strategies on here to go, you're going to live narcissist free for the rest of your life. They're going to be around. So what you need to do is become the most powerful version of yourself, the authentic version of yourself. And then you start to shine. You can start to help others. You can start to make a difference, live as you were meant to live, and be who you're meant to be. So let me walk you through some specific scenarios, because I know you guys love actionable examples. All right. So imagine this: a narcissist says to you, why do you always have to make everything about you? Which, of course, is what they do, right? So a common reaction might be to get defensive or shut down or want to say things back to them. But what if instead of doing that, you stayed calm and you replied, I'm sharing my perspective. It's important to me. I value open and honest communication. This response is authentic. It communicates your truth without attacking them and without giving them ammunition to twist your words. It's like putting this emotional force field down around you, which is exactly what you're doing. This invisible shield, which is your emotional force field. Here's another one. If you're in the workplace and you have a narcissistic boss or a colleague who's trying to dismiss your ideas in a meeting, saying something like, that's not practical, blah, 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 we're not going to waste time. You're not going to do that. Like if they are saying things like that to you, like you're wasting time, whatever, they're trying to shoot down your ideas, just, thank you for the feedback. I hear you. I hear your concerns. This does align with our goals. And here's how, right? And just based on what your concerns are, here's how. And you just present things in a factual manner, but standing in your power and standing in your truth. By standing in your authenticity, you assert your value and ideas without engaging in their dismissiveness or their antics. It's the way you come forward and when you maintain your integrity and your professionalism. So what about personal relationships though? Let's say you're dealing with a family member, a narcissist who keeps pushing you. They say things like, well, if you really cared about me, then you'd do this. They're going to try to guilt trip you, right? So instead of caving, what you want to do is you want to reply, I do care about you, but I also need to honor what's right for me. And this is how you hold the line with love and authenticity. If you're going to try this, say, I'm doing this in the comments. I want to hear you say, I'm doing this in the comments. And I also want to know where your authenticity disarmed that narcissist in the past, and where you actually stood up to them and you realized that they are actually more terrified of you than you are of them because you were authentic. I know you feel used, you feel abused, you feel beaten up. I've been exactly where you are, especially if you're dealing with narcissists. You're dealing with people who are just all over you all the time, whether it's your boss, whether it's your husband, your ex-spouse, the co-parent of your child, whoever it is. You feel like it's not fair, right? And I want to give you some ways to stop feeling like it's not fair. You stop feeling like it's a victim. Turn it around for once and for all. Don't go away. because by the end of this video, you're going to have 4 ways to stop feeling used and abused. I've helped many, many people through it, and I want to help you too. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because we release brand new videos every single day. And I am the author of the best-selling book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. Definitely welcome you to check that out as well. You're dealing with disagreeable people. You're dealing with high conflict people. The first thing that I want you to do is set a boundary. Set those boundaries. I say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. I talk about that all the time in my SLAY method, right? Sometimes it can feel really, really overwhelming when you're dealing with a high conflict person, when you're dealing with a difficult person, when you're dealing with a person who's in your face. There's no way that you can stop all that triggering and stop all of that fear if you don't start with setting boundaries. And sometimes that very first boundary that you're going to set is just going to be, I'm not allowing you to speak disrespectfully anymore. That's a boundary. So sometimes if you're still living in the same house, whether it's a family member, it could be your mom, it could be your sister, it could be who the hell ever. It's never okay for a person to speak disrespectfully to you. And no, you don't need to stay in the same room. And no, you don't need to stay in the same conversation if they're yelling and screaming at you. You can just say, I can see that you're upset. I can see that you're angry. Start looking at somebody as if they're an 8-year-old, as if they're an 8-year-old having a tantrum on the floor. Just start not taking it personally. I would say put an invisible Teflon down around you and then just start observing them. Observe, don't absorb. And that's basically what you're going to be doing. You can start to react with curiosity instead of anger. So you can start to say, oh, that's interesting. Why would you say that? Oh, that's interesting. Why would you think that? Boundaries. One of the things that you can think about is what is negotiable. What's negotiable are contracts and issues and terms. What's never negotiable is your self-esteem, your self-worth, who you are as a human being. That first thing you're going to do is to stand up to that high conflict person, that toxic person, that disagreeable person, is setting that boundary. I just had this conversation with my daughter who's in college, and she was saying to me that she feels really good about herself now. And if anybody mistreats her, she knows who she is, and she is no longer in the conversation. She does not allow people to mistreat her. Boundaries are your invisible shield, protecting yourself from being taken advantage of. It's about clearly defining what you will and won't tolerate in your interactions. That's the first thing, setting that boundary. Number 2 is having effective communication, letting people know what you will and will not tolerate. That's really, really important too. It's crucial to clearly express your thoughts and feelings assertively. If somebody cancels plans on you at the last minute, you can say something like, I value our time together, but you know what? These last minute cancellations, they're frustrating for me and they don't work for me because it clearly says that you don't value my time. And so, can we find a way to make plans that work for both of us, right? This opens up a dialogue and addresses the issue constructively so that you don't feel like you're being used and you don't feel like this person took advantage of your time together. And I used to have a friend who would answer the phone and be like, oh, I can't talk right now, and just hang up. And I'd be like, why did you answer the phone? Just to hang up on me? Why do you need somebody like that in your life? You know, let the phone go to voicemail. Why would you allow somebody to be disrespectful to you?
You don't need that. You want to have somebody who is going to be respectful to you and also respectful of your time. Be able to communicate effectively and just say, this isn't working for me. This approach is not working for me. And this situation isn't working for me. And be okay with that and say, I appreciate your input. I appreciate your feedback. And, I'm confident that in my own abilities as well. Just be calm. You don't need to be emotional. You don't need to be defensive. I always say never jade, never justify, argue, defend, or explain. You don't ever want to get into those situations, but you also want to express yourself. I mean, if you've ever had to deal with a difficult person or a toxic person, you know what I'm talking about. If this is resonating with you so far, give me an amen in the comments below. And I want to know if any of this is working for you so far, resonating for you so far, and if you're going to try any of this so far. If you want phrases for disarming narcissists, go to disarmthenarc.com and get my free phrases for disarming narcissists. They will definitely help you as well in your emails, in your text messages, in your conversations also. The next thing is going to be self-care. You need to have self-care. Self-care for coping with narcissists, self-care for dealing with them, whether you're dealing with disagreeable people, whether you're dealing with a toxic person, whether it's just a person who's, not nice, you still have to be taking care of your own emotional well-being, right? Self-care is the key to maintaining your resilience, your strength. Think about a time where you were in a high stress situation with a narcissistic boss. Self-care means taking breaks. It means practicing relaxation techniques. It means seeking emotional support from a friend, from a therapist. It means helping you stay emotionally resilient and not letting the stress consume you. If you're in a personal relationship, self-care means setting aside time for hobbies or activities that bring you joy, even if that other person, that disagreeable person, doesn't necessarily like it, doesn't necessarily approve of it. It reinforces your independence and reminds you of your self-worth. The fourth one is having a resolution focused approach. So sometimes that means doing what I call fluff or favor, vomit later, where you're fluffing up their ego to give them a little something of what they want so that you can get a little something of what you want in return. Can you resolve the QuickBooks this month? You're so much better at it than I would be, and it'll get done so much faster, something like that, because then they feel like, oh, I'm a big man, whatever. And don't make sure you don't say anything good about yourself because they don't want to hear about that. That way they get something that they want, which is adulation. They get their ego boosted. And that way, when it comes time to negotiating down the road or doing something that you want down the road, you've stored up, that ego boost, whatever. I call it ethically manipulating the manipulator. Or the other thing that you can do is focus on areas that you might agree first so that you can work toward those areas of disagreement if you're starting in a mediation or something like that. Because then by the time you get to those areas of disagreement, a lot of times you're like, we've covered so much ground. Why would we want to undo all of the good things that we've already done? So a resolution focused approach, or how can we come to an agreement? How can we do this rather than you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, or stating things like this approach is not working for me instead of focusing on the other person, because the other person, especially if you're dealing with a high conflict personality, is not going to take so kindly to them being attacked. So certainly in a family law type of dispute where the emotions are high, where everybody's always highly triggered anyway, you definitely want to focus on let's work together, let's find a solution. I know we're all very interested in working on a solution, especially for the children, things like that, especially when you're playing up to their ego. In a professional setting, if you're working with a disagreeable colleague, you say things like, I believe that we can work on this together. I believe that we can find a resolution that will achieve all of our goals. Can we discuss a way to do that? Emphasize teamwork, emphasize cooperation. It will go a long way if you can do that. So there you have it. 4 ways to stand up to disagreeable people. Make sure you're always standing in your power, standing in who you are. Don't be defensive. Stay on the offensive. Stay looking like you know who you are. Confident. The more that you can do that, the more that you will go a long way with getting more of what it is that you want.
If you're a renter, this is a no-brainer. You earn points on groceries and travel, so why not on rent? With Built, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join, and just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, and your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock 2 powerful benefits. First, you earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month, no matter where you live or who your landlord is. Your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to your exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. These include extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, and unique experiences only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to miles and hotel points. Your rent can literally take you places. Start paying rent through Built and take advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's joinbilt.com/negotiate. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. That's joinbuilt.com/negotiate. So without further ado, let's dive in. What are the kinds of tricks that they pull?
A lot of narcissists really like to use money as a tool for power and control and leverage. Um, and so I think just sometimes just recognizing that it's not about the money and that it's about the power and the control can be helpful in normalizing. In terms of some of the tricks and going along the control theme, a lot of times they have all the access to everything, and so I mean what I see a fair amount is that translates into they have entire visibility over all of the finances, but then you don't have any access. So they have control over all spending, et cetera, those types of things. And so I think one of the approaches that can be helpful, not necessarily if you're going through divorce, but a little bit before then. And tell me if that's in the right track, but I imagine you probably have people that are contemplating divorce. But
Yeah,
sometimes I think one thing that can be really helpful is if you're able, as you're trying to save the marriage, to convince them to sign up for one of these platforms like a Personal Capital or Mint or things of that nature that have account aggregation, so you can see kind of all of the finances at once. And if you can do it in the way of like, this is really a hot button for me, and that we don't have transparency, and so like it'd be really helpful for us to work on our marriage. And so you're still kind of giving them this semblance of control, but that can be a good way to backdoor your way into having visibility over all the finances, at least with what they're willing to add to the Personal Capital account. So that's something that I find can be kind of pretty effective there.
Well, those are both really, really good. Really, really good. I was just thinking, hiding money, they tend to, be the ones that'll move money offshore or put it in separate accounts or get paid in cash. And what happens is they've been working on their target for so long that the target ends up kind of feeling paranoid anyway, and feeling like the other person has all the control. And so they kind of have this imagination that there's all this stuff going on, and it may not be as bad as they might think, but they just imagine all the worst things, like, there's millions of dollars offshore, or there's millions of dollars being paid in cash, and their income is 5 times what they say it is, and so I think part of it is just kind of looking at the facts and also saying, okay, in today's day and age, it's not as easy to hide money, and money usually has a trail. You can usually see wires going places. I mean, it's really hard to move money around without some kind of traceability. I mean, there's going to be some weird wire to some bank in the Cayman Islands or Nevis or something that you're going to see, or some big amount of cash that was taken out, and there's no way to account for what happened to it. So that's what I usually tell people. It's not as easy to hide money as people think that it is.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I often suggest for people that, because like you said, people can kind of work themselves into a tizzy where the fear of the unknown becomes this massive problem and kind of manifests into a massive problem that may or may not exist. And so sometimes what I think is the best way to evaluate that relatively quickly, because the decision is primarily, I've got this lingering concern. Am I going to be able to move forward with this lingering concern or not? And so you then have options to address that concern. You can hire a private investigator and do, a world search of different bank accounts and see if something like that comes up. You can do, full forensic accounting and tracing, but all of those things come with pretty hefty price tags. And they also take your case in a direction that can make it really, really difficult to resolve amicably if the event that is, a possible outcome, which often isn't the case when you're divorcing a narcissist, but in some cases, that does work. And so, something that we often do is like the smoking gun analysis, which doesn't get to it's not a full tracing, but it's more just trying to look at all financial records for a year and do a real rounded corners that say, how much did we make? What happened in terms of the return on investment? And does it make sense for us to be where we're at? Because at the end of the day, your starting balance and your ending balance, the difference between those two are going to be based on gains or losses during that period, total income, less total expenses. So when you do that kind of smoking gun analysis and you look and you see how much in expenses does this imply that we had, is that in the ballpark? So, if you look at it and you say, I think we're spending 15 or 20,000 a month, and then you look at this type of analysis and it's showing 50 or 60,000 in implied expenses, then maybe there's something there that should cause you to do a real deeper dive, ask for 6 years of documents, bring in a private investigator, go further down. So that's often what we do. We call it kind of the smoking gun analysis of just trying to do it a little bit, kind of
like a back end way.
Approach, right? Poor man's way.
You back your way into it. I like that approach. That's good. And another thing, which is kind of like similar to what you were just saying, is like, if the person is paid all from one source, like a company, and the person is not paid in cash, maybe there's a C-level executive of some sort, but maybe they do get paid in many different ways. Maybe it's, restricted stock units, or maybe it's, I've had C-level executives that get paid in, various, like one was an Indian-owned company that the guy was like living in Brazil, but he worked for the American portion of the company. And so like some of his retirement stuff was in rubles, and then some of it was in like Brazilian reals, and some of it was in American dollars. And so, but it all came from one source, the company. And so one of the things that I've done is subpoena the company and say, give us a breakdown of every single dollar this person has earned, or every single, bonus or stock or whatever. And, where did it go? Which bank accounts did this person direct it to go into? Give us the exact checking account, routing number, the bank name, because you go right to the source and figure out, okay, how much was made. And, okay, here are the expenses. And so here's how much should be left over here. What's missing here?
Yeah. I
Um,
think to that point, I think step one is really understanding the compensation structure. Subpoenas
Right.
often are a more efficient way of getting to the bottom of things if you don't have full disclosure, or you often will get a very organized packet back from the company as opposed to bankers' boxes of documents that have been pieced together. So in some ways it can actually be more efficient. It does take things in a little different slant. But the other thing that I think is really important is that people get educated, because to your point, I don't think that I think a lot of people don't necessarily have a full understanding of how things like RSUs and stock options and how much people pay in taxes. And so, like, I've seen plenty of situations where someone said, "Hey, I think my husband's hiding money. Look, like here it says that 1,000 RSUs vest, and I only see 400 shares in the account." Well, 400 of them were withheld for taxes, and then I see that you sold 200 shares. And so a lot of times there actually is a good explanation. And so just
Absolutely.
trying to get educated. And stock options are another great one, because sometimes there's actually no money that came into the account. It might just have been an outflow because you exercised the options but didn't sell. So yeah, those are really
Or maybe they haven't even vested yet. Maybe they won't vest for another 5 years. And if the person isn't with the company in 5 years, they're not going to even get them. So if they're not ripe, then maybe they're not even something that would be put into the pot to be divided. So I mean, there's that. But I think what happens is people get caught up in the cash element of things a lot of times. But it's like, do you want to spend 10,000 on a forensic accountant to recover 5,000 or whatever? I mean, how much cash are we really talking about a lot of times?
And the other thing
unless they're
I think one of the other tricks that a lot of people do is put a bank account actually in their spouse's name. That's the other thing that I've seen happen quite a bit. And then
or a new significant other, or their brother, or their
right,
parent, or something. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
But in particular in their spouse's name, because then usually they actually have full access and control to it because they were the one that said
Well,
no.
I'm thinking in a divorce situation, if they're not liking their spouse very much at that moment.
So am I. So am I. This is so
Yeah, well,
one of the private
I
investigators.
mean, but then it's easier for them to get access to it. So I'm saying, like, they put it in a place where, hey, that's my mother's account. I can't touch that. That's that's her money.
Well, no, they have no idea about it. So
Yeah.
this way, it's a way for them to get away from I was the one that hid money, because they're almost placing it
Oh
more.
yeah.
You're the one that was
Yeah,
hiding.
yeah.
And the other thing that I think people do quite a bit in terms of just the financial abuse is you need to be cognizant if you drive a Tesla. Anything that has a computer in it can be a tracking device and
Yeah.
used to triangulate in terms of location, which is part of kind of that financial control dynamic.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
So talk about Chat GPT, for example, and how that has changed everybody's lives as far as just every day in communications, for example, and how people can utilize that. I mean, just that alone.
Sure. So that type of AI is called generative AI. And so generative AI is a form of artificial intelligence where you give an input and it produces some kind of output. It could be text-based, it could be video-based. We just saw OpenAI's latest product, it's text to video, and it is startling in terms of, and people can go on my personal LinkedIn. I wrote a whole editorial on it, but it's startling how you can say something like, create a video of puppies playing in the snow, and it looks like real golden retriever puppies playing in the snow, or create a movie trailer with a spaceman in a knit space helmet is another one. And it looks like a movie trailer. With something like Chat GPT, or we see Google Gemini, which I'll talk about in a minute. I think that has built-in narcissism. And I'll say that openly, even though I'm a Google shareholder, full disclosure. And if anyone's listening from Google, then we see Microsoft Copilot. So I can put these inputs in and it's going to create an output. So I have used it personally. I build my own GPTs. I just did a big interview for an AI show with a bunch of girlfriends who've all won awards in AI. And I build my own GPTs, Rebecca, because I want them to sound like me. And I have different ones for different things. And you don't have to be a coder. If you have the GPT-4, which I do, the paid version, there's a place where you can go and start to build your own GPTs. And so when we see what people are using them for, we're seeing search. The number one social media search is actually TikTok now. People are using that for search, but we're seeing GPTs being used for search. We see them for optimization. Like I was negotiating a legal contract, and I have more attorneys than I have handbags, but I really wanted ADR language in there, and I didn't really like how they had worded it. So I put it in my GPT, and I said, I want ADR language, put in this, and this is what I want. And it prompted it, and I sent it back to their attorney, and he was like, perfect, we'll go with that. And that came out of OpenAI. So we're using it for a lot of different things. I think on the other side, we're also seeing a lot of people even using it as a companion, and not just recommendations for restaurant. How do I heal my marriage? How do I improve my social media presence? And it will spit out all kinds of recommendations. The thing we have to understand is that ChatGPT is a Microsoft product, and my new startup, the Pause Technologies, is also a Microsoft startup. So I'm in that ecosystem. We're building in that ecosystem. So it's using search from Bing. Gemini, Google's product, is using search from Google. And then you've got Microsoft Copilot, which a lot of my friends who are technologists, data science, and so forth are very excited about that one. It is also a Microsoft product. And then we have Grok, which is the one that Elon's team built that is over on X. And so there's a lot of different generative AI platforms out there. How people are using them and how people like me are using them is we're using different ones for different things.
Okay, so when you say build your own to make it sound like you, can you give more direction on that?
Well, because I love you in this like girlfriend chat, how long have I been telling you as your sister, let me build one that sounds like Rebecca? It's easy to do.
Okay,
and I could do it in literally 15 minutes. So how you do it is these models are very data hungry. So I'll give you an example. So I decided, for some reason, having an esoteric like moment, I graduated from MIT Sloan. I'm going to go back to MIT Sloan and do this chief digital officer program. And I don't mind saying to your audience, because like my show is raw and real entrepreneurship. You've been on the show, I'll be raw and real, that I was like, do I need to prove myself as I'm transitioning to go into this next chapter? Am I really a technologist? Because I was always known as the non-technical founder. So I decided to go back to school. So what I did, here's an example of a GPT I built. I went into ChatGPT and I took all of the contents of the program that I am studying at MIT. I put them into a GPT. I called it Tim's World. Tim is the mascot of MIT. It's a beaver. And so now it knew how the content the professors wanted us to learn. And so when I was writing my papers and I was going in the group and having to do like the dialogue, MIT lets us use GPT. So I'm just not telling you anything my professors didn't know. It instead of me taking 3 hours to write a paper, I would do it in literally 2 minutes. I'd check the references, click through, make sure they were relevant. I asked it to cite things in APA 7 format. It did. And it was like that. If I was building one for Rebecca, what I would do is I would take inputs of things that Rebecca had written, and I would say, we are training the model. I would tell it, we are training this model, and this is the language, this is the tone. I would even give it references to interviews you've done. It doesn't really currently read video, but it will read images. But it is great at reading text. I'd give it any text, video, or interviews you've done, and I would train it to sound just like Rebecca. Then you can actually export that GPT, depending on, all sorts of different things. You have people who do it for you. You can export it and use it. So you could go to Rebecca's website and interact with it as though it's Rebecca. You can build a chat bot that sounds just like you and have it embedded in your website.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. And all of that is in Chat GPT.
In GPT-4. And then there's a developer section there. You don't need to know how to code, but if you wanted to build, say, a chat bot, then there's some coding that's required. But these tools have made things so fast. It's incredible. So even for my new company, we are going to be building our own LLM, our own large language model. We're going to build right now in women's menopause. It is disgusting, the disparities in health. Just to give an example, Rebecca, heart disease kills more women than all the top 5 cancers combined in the United States. 70% of the data on heart disease comes from middle-aged white men. Neither you nor I are a middle-aged white man, yet the majority of that data set is from this. So we're gathering our data as we're launching our platform, which will come first in the App Store, and then it'll come in the Google Play Store, and it'll be an amazing platform for women to be able to get the best customized recommendations for menopause. And then we'll take that, we'll build our own large language model. But currently, basically anyone can build a GPT. Anyone can do it.
So if somebody is now saying, hey, I want to be able to negotiate powerfully, I want to have the edge and be able to, write this really powerful email, or I want to be able to create leverage against this person, what would they be able to do using ChatGPT?
Oh, girl, we're going to get a lot of comments on this one. This is what I would do. I would take whatever correspondence the attorney had sent over. I would feed it into GPT. Don't use 3.5, use 4. I think they're working on GPT-5. I would feed it in, and I'd say, help me negotiate based on this. And so it would use that data as an input. Give me questions that this attorney is likely to ask based on this correspondence. Give me, help me to have the best responses for this. You can train it to go back and forth with you. I've even put things into it. The other day, there was a GPT outage last week, but prior to that, even OpenAI, and I'm going to call them out because they have not one woman on their board. They have a female monitor, but they don't have a woman on their board. We are literally the generation giving birth to AI, but there is no current. Every company, Target is an AI company, Walmart is an AI company, any company using AI is an AI company. And women are naturally the ones that give birth. And there are a lot of smart women out there. Every company should have, firstly, someone who specializes in AI on their board. Secondly, every AI company needs to have women on their board, not just observers, but actually on their frickin' board. I said the same thing to Julie Sooth, Secretary of Labor, when I was with her at the CES this year in Las Vegas. And this is the disgusting to me that there's no legislation. That's my little soapbox. So that's as an aside, Rebecca. I know we're talking about that. But the reason I bring this up is GPT, even OpenAI will admit, oh, we know that GPT isn't responding the way it should, or blah, 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 blah. I've actually said to it, your response isn't good enough. Do critique your own work. It will critique its own work.
Yeah. So let's say you want to create a response. Okay. So you put it in ChatGPT, you can do it that way, right? So you want to say, I want to create an email response, put it in ChatGPT. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to prompt it to be able to respond in a certain way, because it's going to do some things that are fairly stock, like, things. So you would say something like, respond to this at a master's degree, MBA from Wharton level speech. The more specific you are with your queries, the better. And the more, so when I'm writing papers, I'm writing at a MIT Sloan graduate level, because that's how I would write. And so that's what I tell it to do. But if you just put in like, oh, what should I say? It's not going to help you. You would say something like, what would a $750 an hour attorney respond to in this case? How would they respond like that? Respond from the point of view of someone who wants to win this case, and it will disclaim it and say, just so you know, I can't make any promises. No, but it's the thing it's going to help you do is organize your thoughts. It's going to help you come up with ideas. And AI is the first technology that is really there to enhance how humans think and produce output. All the other technologies have been like, let's move us from place to place. Like when cars started, when airplanes started, kitchen gadgets, let's just make things more efficient. This is the first technology that's designed to make our brains more super efficient, like pure technology. And that's what it should be used for. But at the end of the day, you've got to check your work. You need a sanity check. I'm not suggesting you replace your attorney with GPT by any stretch of the imagination, but it is incredibly helpful. And most of my friends who are professionals are using GPT.
Yeah, for sure. What other types of AI could somebody engage or use for getting the edge in negotiation or leverage or dealing with narcissists or dealing with somebody that's high conflict?
That is an excellent question. I'm gonna shift to the dangers of AI with the people are negotiating with.
Okay.
So I want to shift, because I think your question is brilliant. Of course, we want to know what we're up against. So everyone listening, watching, you're negotiating with a narcissist. And believe me, I have negotiated with narcissists in business, in life, and it sucks. Narcissists will always use tools that are out of integrity because they don't have integrity. So I want to talk about what narcissists are using that are so damaging right now. So let's start with deepfakes. So there was the Taylor Swift deepfake. And the good thing
And
is,
I just want to make sure that people understand what she's saying. It's DEEPFAKE. So it's like deep fake. Yeah. Is that, just not everybody understands what you're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. So what that was, it was widely in the media that it looked like Taylor Swift had, essentially was in porn. Now, I want everyone to know two things. Taylor Swift has millions of fans, and they knew it wasn't her. And so that way, it didn't last. It wasn't a problem for her because she had built a stellar reputation. To make a deep fake, it only costs, Rebecca, it can cost as little as $30-$40. You can have it done overseas, and you only need about 10 images of that person to make it happen.
Wow.
That's number one. We are seeing where young girls are getting bullied with deep fakes. Before, you would have to take an image of the person, Photoshop it. Not anymore. With generative AI, you can have these deep fakes created. So what I am concerned about is our young women. I'm concerned about in terms of negotiating, in terms of divorce, in terms of relationships, in terms of business conflict. We're going to start seeing, and we're already seeing what has happened with this election. We're going to see it at the C-suite level. We know that you and I were talking about on the show, prior to the show, that when a team of people want to destroy a woman in a leadership position, they'll just talk smack about her. They'll talk about her boobs. They'll do all sorts of stupid stuff. They'll say, oh, she's in menopause. Like, oh my gosh. Now they can do even worse. They can make up things she's written. They can make up images about her. They can make up videos with her. So the OpenAI Sora that I was talking about making the videos, how do you know it's not going to be able to produce a video of a CEO who goes to church, who volunteers, who is a mom, pole dancing? We don't know, because we don't know. We won't know until we use it and get our hands on it. We've seen the images that Google Gemini has created that are false. We have seen, I put into OpenAI DALL-E, I asked it to create an image. It was such it was a very provocative image, and that's not at all what I had asked it to create. So it is so easy for these deep fakes, and it's also easy for deep fakes for voice. It's easy for deep fakes for video. So we're going to see we have seen nothing yet in terms of how dirty divorce is going to be, how dirty it's going to be in the corporate landscape. This election is already shaping up to be dirty, dirty, dirty. And it's, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a congresswoman, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it. The vitriol, I don't know how you do it. This election, and this is not about one party or another, or candidate or another. This is often foreign, overseas collusion creating this, and it's not necessarily about the candidate asking them to do it. So it's about to get dirty on a whole other level, and we have to know this, because I'll share my tips in terms of how you can protect yourself. But you have to know that it's about to get dirtier than you've ever imagined, and we're even going to see new forms of law that come up just to deal with these deep fakes in terms of things like divorce. So,
well, how do people know if it's real or not? How can you verify?
You can't. That's the whole thing. So Meta came out with a statement, and they said, oh, we're allowing our users to say if it's AI generated or not. Here's why. They actually don't know. Back in 2008, when Facebook first started, you would get the thing, is that Susan with you? And you go, yes. And then I had a hat on, and you had a hat on. Is that Susan with you? You go, yes. That's called data annotation. All of us with Facebook accounts were complicit in training the largest facial recognition image data set in the entire freaking world. We did that. So I hope everyone, made a lot of money in Facebook, because you trained the data set. I trained the data set. Now, once again, their AI can't tell if it's AI generated or not. So they're asking us to annotate the data. It's super smart, right? It's super smart. And that's great. I invest in tech as well as being in tech, but they can't tell. And the deepfakes are getting better and better. And the videos, it used to be that they're somewhat pixelated. So they're like, you could see the little boxes like Legos. You can't see it now. And if anyone watching or listening, if you go to YouTube and you go to the OpenAI YouTube channel and you look at their video on Sora, it will blow your freaking mind if you have not seen it yet. It shows you the text prompts. That's called prompt engineering, how you ask an AI to do something, and the outputs. It's incredible.
So scary. So how do you prevent it? You can't.
You can't prevent it, but there are 3 things that I do want to say, and I'm on a crusade about this. So 1, for your children and your grandchildren, you need to have a private family phrase that you never text, you never, ever put anywhere. It's not even written down. And that is something within your family. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing people who are getting phone calls. This is a scam going on right now. So if you see a robo dialer, like a caller calling from multiple different numbers and you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up. Because once you start to engage with it, they're using AI to get your voice and your intonation, and then they're adding it to public images to create video of you, to create deep fakes. And there was someone who was just, their bank account was emptied like $40,000 because of this. And they're using that to create fake facial recognition to get into your apps that require facial. So this is some old school stuff. So number one, have a family phrase. We have one, Rebecca. No one knows what it is outside the family. The kids know what it is. If they get a call from me like, hey, I need $2,500 or whatever, they would have to ask the family phrase, because you know what? It's going to sound just like me. That's the scary thing. That's number one. Number two, it's time to stop posting your damn kids on social media, because anyone, if you have, any net worth whatsoever, they are going to create deep fakes of your children. We're going to see all kinds of things. And I did it too. I was complicit. I was not in this world at that time. I wouldn't do it now.
Yeah.
But posting your children's photos, your teenagers, you need to monitor their phones and what they're doing. There was just an outage of about 74,000 cell phones of all the big providers here in the United States. And my next common sense thing is, do your kids actually know how to get home if their cell phone isn't working? And you may say, well, Rebecca, that sounds common sense, because you and I would know how to do that. But we grew up before the cell phone era. And so you've got to be training your children. And this is also a time too that, unless you have an OnlyFans or whatever it is you do, and you really don't care if those salacious images are out there of you, then fine. But if you do care, then let people know what you stand for. So then if something does arise, like people know for me in my real life, they know, oh, okay, Susan is Christian. Susan doesn't show bikini pics of herself on Instagram. There's no booty shots of me. So if they saw something like that, they probably go, hey, that's not Susan. And if that is you, and you don't show yourself in a thong on Instagram, then be who you are, because then if something comes out, your friends are going to know it's not real. But Rebecca, this is getting to the point where we even saw in Hong Kong a fake virtual meeting where they used AI generation to make all of the executives. Did you hear about this? And there was one real human in that meeting, the virtual meeting, who thought these were all the executives in the meeting, and they transferred millions of dollars to the people who did the deepfakes. Now, that company should have had safeguards. No one person should be able to transfer millions of dollars out of your company, but that is going on right now. So common sense things like always be changing your passwords, have the 20, 25 alphanumeric character passwords, don't have two passwords the same, constantly be checking your cybersecurity. Like this stuff, it trickles down. You see the bullying with kids that are using AI to bully other kids. We're going to see it more in divorces. We're going to see it more in business. And you have to practice the common sense things to protect yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I tell people to change their passwords constantly anyway, for sure. But I mean, this is, another level of that. I mean, it's going crazy with all of this. So these are all really, really great tips.